Welcome into Boxing Scene Today here at the Pro Box TV studios. Well, we talked about the comeback of Manny Pacquiao a couple days ago right here. Don't call this one a comeback. Deontay Wilder doesn't want it a comeback, even though hasn't won in 3 years. Only fought twice since that win 3 years ago, but he's going to be fighting in Wichita, Kansas next month. He says he is now pain-free. Isn't that the difference? Jimmy Smith alongside the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. Chris, it's a story we've heard a million times. It was this, it was that. Trust me, I'm going to be back at 39 years old. You have no idea what I'm about to bring. We've heard it a million times. Chris, what do you think of it?
Listen, I hope that's the case. I hope that those past couple performances that were more than lackluster were because of the shoulder injuries, because Deontay Wilder, man, he makes American heavyweight boxing very, very fun. Yeah, I mean, the bomb squad, the knockouts, everything, you name it. There was a run there where he was one of the most exciting fighters in the world, and he was an American heavyweight, and America is lacking in the heavyweight division right now. So if it was the shoulder, I hope he's back, but I don't know. Champ, how do you feel?
And you called a lot of his fights.
I feel like you're going to say what I'm feeling.
I don't know, man. Here's the thing. We're talking about the American heavyweight scene, and I remember,
or lack thereof.
I remember when Wilder was on his run. I found him to be very, very intimidating figure in the heavyweight division. I thought, there was criticism of his technique and whatnot, but honestly, man, I mean, he had a good run. He was a very good fighter. He was, in his prime, I thought, he was probably the most devastating puncher the heavyweight division may have ever seen. And he knew how to use that power. Regardless of some of the clumsiness in his tactics, he still was effective. It's funny because you look at the American heavyweight scene and you were like, oh, no, Wilder, there was a criticism, but okay, sometimes you don't know what you got till it's gone. What do we got now? Jared Anderson? I mean, it kind of leaves you to yearning, right? So I guess even if it is Wilder leaving us, yearning for some nostalgia just to see him, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it. I think there's always going to be a curiosity about Wilder because he can punch. He just looks so bad in that Zhang and Parker fight. Yeah. Right? He just looks so bad that you wonder.
He looked disinterested.
That's what I was about to bring it back to.
But he also got posterized in the knockout that he took by Zhilei Zhang too. And then so that's also, disinterested is one thing, but also are you going to put yourself in harm's way to where you're going to hurt yourself? You know what I mean? Because Wilder had a very successful career. You don't want to do that either, right? When you do you make all the sacrifices, you can enjoy it later. So. Listen, bro, we're gonna watch.
Well,
all the curiosities we're raising is gonna make us watch.
I will say this though, champ: the opponent, tailor-made.
Yeah.
F.A. Jogba knocked him out in 1 round. Richard Torres knocked him out in 2 rounds. I mean, he's got a nice looking record.
Tyrell Herndon, by the way,
got a nice looking record. He's gonna come, but F.A. Jogba knocks you out 1 round, which is pretty much like Deontay Wilder light.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the right guy.
Yeah.
Look, but what I was going to bring it around to, and what I'm curious about is, I thought the same thing, Paul, you just said, is that at the end of the fight, he just kind of looked like, I don't want to do this anymore. It doesn't work for me. I don't want to do it anymore. It seemed like that spark was gone. Now, sure,
there was no urgency in the Parker fight.
Exactly, yes.
And he was getting outclassed in that fight.
Yeah.
Listen, I've said this on other platforms before. That ayahuasca, man. Hey, young fighters, stay away from that ayahuasca. These guys do ayahuasca, and they completely lose their killer instinct. It's just
we're all one. We're all together,
in tune with nature, or frog poison, or whatever. Get rid of all that. You don't need empathy when you're a fighter. You don't need to be in touch with your empathetic or emotional side in that way. So, young fighters, stay away from the ayahuasca.
Right. But it's this idea too, tactically, Paulie. And once again, you called a lot of his fights in his prime. This idea that when you saw Deontay Wilder, even in that run, you knew that he didn't necessarily, like, when the cliff comes, it's going to be steep. Like, when I was watching, I was like, he doesn't have all this, not a B-hop where he can do a lot of different things. He can make adjustments later on in his career. He's never that guy.
He wasn't the craftiest guy, but he knew how to set up the power that he did have.
Yes.
He knew what he had to do, and that part of his game, he knew how to do it well, even though it was a little bit, some would say, one-dimensional. Hey, when you can punch like that, you can get away with being
you only need one-dimensional.
You can get away with being one-dimensional. There was, like I said, you could have criticized them, but you also always had to watch. I'll tell you what, I'll go as far as saying this. Usyk winds up beating Fury twice and becoming the best heavyweight of the era. But if you really look at it, Wilder and Fury took so much out of each other that it can be argued that Wilder had a hand in Fury losing the 2 Usyk fights, because the trilogy with Wilder was violent for both sides, and that's you got to still remember that. I mean, I don't know what kind of version of Deontay Wilder we're going to get here, but you still got to remember that, love him or hate him, Deontay Wilder is still put on in his time, and hey, maybe we're yearning a little bit. Maybe we're yearning for a little bit of nostalgia. Because, like I said, once Wilder's gone, what do we got?
Love him or hate him? Who didn't love him? I love Deontay Wilder.
I saw a lot of criticism.
I like Deontay a lot.
Technique and whatnot, and people saying, "Oh, everybody's always got the whole."
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he's icing guys. He's putting them flat on their back. And every time you watched a Deontay Wilder fight, you're waiting for that rocket right hand.
He also didn't endear himself greatly, like when he said he would have knocked out Mike Tyson. Like
he was a little combative sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's also
I like the bomb squad.
He's an emotional person too, so, and he feeds off that. So I'm an emotional person in a lot of ways. So when you're like that, you sort of feed off that. So sometimes you can be controversial, but it's a way that you feed off it as a fighter. And maybe those are the things that made Deontay feed off of that, what Deontay fed off of in his best days. Sometimes he just had to be controversial in terms of, his emotional side and that spurning that self-belief, have it cooking. Sure enough, in his prime, he had that self-belief. I'm not talking about the late career Deontay Wilder that we saw with Parker, who was disinterested. In his prime, he had that self-belief. This guy got up off the canvas. He would get hurt and still come back and knock you out. Got up off the canvas against Fury. Actually, no, he had Fury down twice.
Yep.
Back and forth, getting hurt. Still, I can remember this. I thought he was a little hard on Mark Breland in a way. I thought he was very hard on Mark Breland. I thought it was a bit unfair on Mark Breland when Breland stopped that fight. Again, the emotional side. He was blaming Breland for being an inside mole and all this other stuff, which I thought was out of his mind, off his rocker. Maybe he was on other stuff besides ayahuasca then too. Who knows? Yeah. But nonetheless, in the third fight, he showed up.
Yes.
He's like, you know what?
Yes, he did.
If you think about it, he lived that way. Because I'm like, okay, you don't want people stopping the fight? You're going to go out on your shield? Okay.
Better do it.
You're asking for it now. Let's see what happens.
And he did it.
He puts Fury on his ass in the fight. But then when he's fading out, nope. He goes out on his shield. He goes out on his back. So I had to give him his respect in that fight. I had to say, yo, you know what? Don't agree with the way he treated Breland. But you know what? I got to say, man of his word.
But also, you talked about his belief. And when you have a belief, it doesn't matter how far you're behind. If you have, the self-belief in your ability, but also when you have that right hand, you're always in a fight.
Yeah.
Deontay, it didn't matter how beat up he was always in a fight. And he dropped Fury, 3 times?
And not only that, in the third fight, after Fury did what he did in fight 2, you don't expect to see Fury on his ass.
No.
You're expecting oh, that's it. Fury's got his number now. He figured it out.
Nope.
That's what you're talking about right there. With Wilder, it was always a time bomb with that right hand,
Do you think that was it, though? Do you think that third fight was when the self-belief turned around?
I don't know. I think that spent both of them. By the time they were done with 3 fights, it's possible that both may have been a bit spent. They both made a lot of money together as well, which also softens you up. Physically, they tore into one another.
They also made history.
Yeah,
that's a historic trilogy.
Yeah, but also physically, they tore into one another. Violently. I think that's you talk about trilogies in boxing. Sometimes we don't always mention this one. Maybe because it's too recent. But that was an excellent trilogy. That was an excellent trilogy.
But this idea that we're all sitting here going, man, that trilogy probably spent him, but he's always going to make premium money. He's an American heavyweight, period. This idea that Herndon, as you said, might be tailor-made for his style, but should he win, how far does he go? Is he right back on top? Does he get another big heavyweight fight? Where does he go with what we expect, probably a win in Wichita, unless he's completely shot? This idea that his ceiling is so high.
Well, we got to think about the landscape of the heavyweight division right now.
You just mentioned a Jogba Bakoli. They just fought to a draw.
Which are a certain level. They're a level below. I think he actually jumps right over those guys. I think he goes right into the big heavyweight picture now of the Joshua Fury again, because those guys are on the way down too. We're not looking at prime Joshua anymore. We're not looking at prime Tyson Fury anymore. Everyone knows Alexander Usyk is the best heavyweight in the world. And he's going to fight Dubois, who he's already beat.
Me think something. Is this a little bit of a building of interest of maybe Wilder Joshua still trying to resurrect it from the grave, and maybe it's not put away. Let's try to resurrect it.
And guess
maybe
what? I'm here for it. I want to see it. I want to see Wilder Joshua.
Yeah, I wasn't I wasn't convinced of it, but now, you got a tailor-made opponent. Wilder knocks him out. Bomb squad all over. Bomb squads. Throw up a few bomb
I'm
squads
back,
all
baby.
over the place.
My shoulders are good. I'm back.
Maybe AJ goes and gets a win, and yeah, I can see the writing on the wall, dude. Because you can't go near the Dubois of the world and the Usyks of
No.
Usyk, you don't know what he's got to have left one fight to the next. He's old, but Dubois of the world, the Bacolis of the world, right? Because that's a bit of a risk, but you can angle out at this elder statesman part of the heavyweight division where you can build up.
I think Tyson
that may never have happened.
To a degree, Joshua they've already exited.
Mm-hmm.
They're now lying on the outside. They're kind of super champions that are kind of out of the mix a little bit because they can't beat the guy at the top. They're not gonna try to fight the guy anymore. What's the point? So they can fight each other. They can make a gang of money. But also because they're no longer in that title picture, they've actually gone into where Deontay Wilder would be because he's been out of the title picture for a year or change now. He's in that group now.
Maybe I'm gonna put it in a way where not everybody likes it, but this is the way it probably is. Sometimes the elder statesman sort of hangs around and hovers and fights in an elder statesman's lane, and gets that permission,
Yeah.
And this
I call them super champions. You call them elder statesmen, but same idea.
Well, because they don't have championships, unless you're Canelo, and then he does the elder statesman and just takes the title with him and holds it hostage. But anybody else, typically, there's still an interest in seeing these elder statesmen as champions, and sometimes they fight each other and they make money together, and people are interested in it. I mean, shoot, in MMA, you did that with essentially Bellator. That was that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the elder statesmen all went over
the
there,
legends fights, yeah.
Another, yeah. So there's a market for it for sure. That maybe this is trying to build to that.
That's
We'll
it.
see.
Sign me up. I want Anthony Joshua, and then the winner of that gets a Tyson Fury fight. Let's go.
Yeah. Is it this generation's?
Does Klitschko just come back at that point?
Right.
He's been talking about it. He was talking about it.
Is that the last thing I want to know? Is it this generation's Lewis Tyson? Like it was past when they should have fought, but hey, it did set pay-per-view records, and you go, all right, fine, it's still Tyson Lewis.
It's a fight everyone always wanted. We didn't get it when we could, but we took what we could. I mean,
we took what we could get.
You could say to a degree, Floyd and Pacquiao was like that too. It was past the time when they should have fought, and they're still making it. This one is a little more extended. But I'm still for because they're heavyweights. I think heavyweights have a much longer lifespan in terms of that because they can punch.
Is there anything, Paulie, with a win where you wouldn't want to see that? Let's say he does win, but God, would you be like, all right, I don't want to see the Joshua fight? Would he have to look real bad?
Look, we're talking about a guy who's tailor-made for him, so he can't scrape by this. This is being set up for him. This isn't really a comeback. This is sort of an appearance. This is a showcase, right?
Yeah, showcase.
So you got to showcase in the showcase, otherwise
you got to show out in the showcase.
show out in the showcase, right? So I think if he doesn't show out in the showcase, then you start to wonder, okay, well, what's changed since losing to Parker and Zhang? It's just he's fought such a low-level opponent that he was able to scrape by and beat him. It's really nothing's changed. But if he shows out in the showcase, there's an argument to be made now. Oh, he is back. Throw up a few bomb squads, a few yelling here and there, a few champs in the background from his 25-man entourage. Hey, man, you know what? People sign up. You build it up.
So Joshua before the end of the year, Chris, if he wins.
I'm in. I've been in. I think like you said, Champ, if he goes out there and does what he's supposed to do with this guy, it's a very marketable fight. We'll see what the fan feel like in terms of because they have to be behind it because they're not behind it, it's dead in water. But I think people would be if he goes out there, he knocks this guy out in 2 rounds or in a couple rounds or whatever. And you could get everything you just said, and then you start throwing highlights of Deontay Wilder knocking guys out cold to one punch, and then you show Anthony Joshua. This is the fight that should have happened. Worlds collide, East versus West. We've got UK, USA.
Power of technology. You can market a lot.
I think it's a no-brainer.
It's one of those. Well, if he looks good enough, could be a big fight in his future. That's what happens when you're a heavyweight. Deontay Wilder making his comeback next month. As it gets closer, we'll talk about it more here on a Boxing Scene Today, where you get all your boxing news. Join us. Find out why millions are watching.